All right. Good day. Good evening. Welcome back to the Live the Fuel show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm getting to know a new guest co-host like I always do. And as usual, before I started hitting recording, we started rapping and it was like 5-10 minutes. So let's go ahead and jump right in, ladies and gentlemen. I'm bringing on a new guest co-host today, and we might be leaning a little heavily on health. And I'm going to go with lifestyle because we talk about health, business, and lifestyle all the time. It's something I'm passionate about. That's why I launched the brand and the show, because without your health, without a balanced lifestyle, you truly cannot succeed in business or anything else you might be focusing on. And this young lady might understand what we're talking about because she's a person who lives with something that a lot of us have, hopefully lucky enough, have not had to deal with. But unfortunately, many of us have had to deal with it because it's happened to people in our families. It's happened to people we're friends with, me specifically, friends, families, charities I've worked with, you name it. We're talking about cancer today. And she's got one heck of a backstory. She was diagnosed in her 40s when her doctor first told her. So, and it's pretty bad when a doctor who you trust, by the way, throws out there, hey, why don't you just go ahead and get your affairs in order and
just die already.
right. It's like, that's what I'm saying. We're going to jump right in here. So without further ado, this woman has one heck of a story and we're going to get to know her together. Viki Zarkin, welcome to Live the
Hi,
Fuel.
hello everybody. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
And you have a bigger bio, right? But I was like,
Yeah,
the biggest thing that stood out to me when I did all the research in the back end and my team sent
right.
this over, I was like, that was the line. I'm like, I'm not
Yeah,
going to run on at the mouth with this huge bio. I
it's
can't stand it when I see professionals say stuff like that. So I believe in mind over matter, mind over the physical being and stuff like that as being a health nut.
100%.
So I figured, what a better way to start the show on something that you're a trusted health professional just goes and slaps right in your face with that. So
Yeah.
how do you want to get going off of that note?
Well, the interesting thing was it was the first time I had met him as well.
That's
I
lovely.
Yeah, yeah. And it's I don't have multiple experiences with cancer. It had never touched my life as it touches so many others.
Okay.
So after I went through like all these, months of grueling tests, I finally get to the Mecca. I get to the man, the guy that's going to tell me, what's up, how are we going to fix this? And that's what I got. In response, he said, I'll tell you.
I gotta know.
Yeah.
How long into the session or the meeting? I mean, it was the one. I mean, I'm hoping it's not one of the typical MD visits where they've got that stopwatch rolling and like, it's every 9-10 minutes they got to move on to the next patient. I'm hoping it lasted a little bit longer than 10 minutes before he drops that bomb on you.
Not so much, but it didn't last much more than that. No,
Come on.
no, he did get right down to it. But it's interesting. What I say in my book is that he was sort of going on and rambling at first. And again, not knowing a lot about cancer, I was listening to him and I likened him in my book to the Peanuts teacher from the Peanut Show.
The
And
wah
all
wah
I heard,
wah.
that's all I heard. Wah, 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 wah. And then all of a sudden he's like, I've consulted with all of my colleagues and we agree you need to go home and get your affairs in order. And I was like, what?
So you're
And
clearly at a cancer specialty
I
campus
was at Johns
facility.
Hopkins. I was
Oh,
in
okay.
the
That's
operatory, in the medical operatory. Yeah.
JH is not a small organization. I mean,
No,
oh, wow.
no, but they've got bills to pay too, right?
You
It's a
said wait till
business.
later in the show. I'm going to go jump right in here. I am
Yeah.
the one.com people. Let's just get this right in earlier in the show because you got to jump in, pause the show, go into letter I am the one.com, the book she's talking about. Okay. That's her site. For the video watchers, there she is. There's Viki.
Yay,
And
me.
I mean, seriously, you're at Johns Hopkins. I love how they talk to all my colleagues, right? Like, did you? Like,
Yeah.
really? Was there a panel?
They
Did you go to the
talked.
panel?
Well, I kind of was incensed by that. And I flew across the room, grabbed him by his neck,
Ooh, I
like
like your style.
like the shirt collar, and I pulled him in really close. Swear to God, real true story. And
I'm
I
digging it.
said, you tell me about all these colleagues, but you never consulted me.
Yeah.
What about what I want? What about what I think? And of course, I went on and on and on from there. But when I realized that my hands were around someone's neck, I flew back thinking, oh gosh, now security's going to be called. And it was really, really quiet.
Okay.
So the rambling all of a sudden stopped and it got really, really quiet. And then for the first time, he looked at me.
So you literally shook him out
Yeah.
of his robotic demeanor of, unfortunately,
Yeah.
that assembly line level of medical
Yeah.
care, which drives me nuts. So I'm glad
Because,
where we're going with this. So you have to shake him,
yeah,
literally shake him out of that to
I
get
did, but
personal with you.
you know, I know you're going to think that I'm crazy because now I'm going to turn around just a little bit and stick up for him just a little bit.
Oh, no,
And
I respect it.
and I'm going to say this why, because all these years later, looking back on that day, that incident, I know that, you know, we started by saying that cancer is a business. And we don't like to think that it is a business, but we live in today's world where we must be realistic. And if you're fighting for your life, you have to know all your, I don't want to say enemies, but you need to know your obstacles
All the
before you.
facets of that circle of
Yes,
influence.
yes. And
Yes.
that business issue becomes an obstacle when it's standing in your way with life. So, you know, my job as the patient was to be my own advocate
Well, I
because
think let's pause
no
on
one's
that
going
one
to
note
help
right
you.
there. Let's pause on that note. The patient's
Yeah.
advocate is ourself. I
Yes.
brought this up all the time. I mean, I accidentally collapsed a lung a year or two ago.
Oh, wow.
Thanks to me being a tall, lean endurance athlete, apparently that's a thing. You can get a
Yeah.
spontaneous pneumothorax. Not cancer,
I'm going
mind
to
you.
ask you. I
But
was going to say, are you a runner or something?
yeah, and I didn't know I had it for like 2 weeks. I just couldn't figure out why. I was doing these CrossFit competitions one weekend, and by the fourth workout, I'm like, why still I can't catch my breath? I'm on the floor, and
Oh,
everybody's telling me to go get X-rays and stuff. I'm like, I'm fine. I think I just have a chest cold. You know, there's a whole other podcast about that.
yes, there is.
But they're like, we need to rush you to the hospital for this, that, and the other thing, yada, yada, yada. Now, granted, I probably should have listened to some of that.
Yeah, maybe.
But they wanted to rush right into surgery. Well, then I found out that you can try
Yeah.
and heal these. They're called blebs. Like I basically
Right.
popped a blister on the surface of the lung and released the air and self collapsed my lung. So like they
Right.
said, well, if it's minor enough, over a couple of days of being on a chest tube, those things will heal up and you might be fine. So we went for that. So I had to be my own advocate and say,
Right.
I don't enjoy being sliced and diced. I've
Yeah.
had it happen on my shoulder. You know, it's okay. But like, let's do some research and let's
Yeah.
figure that out. Let's not rush right into things. That's part of that advocacy, right?
Well, it is. And, you know, I feel like I thought you were going to go with the fact that you know, patients shouldn't have to be their own advocates. There should be someone there to be an advocate for. But the thing is, no one, when your life is on the line, no one's going to advocate for you better than you.
Yes.
And don't put your hands in somebody else's hands.
Well,
Not in that situation.
the second part that I love you're standing for here is part of that other advocacy that I was always doing every day while I was in the hospital, which I eventually did do the robotic surgery because it was a significant
It didn't
leakage.
heal, but
Right.
you tried
And
to
I
go
had a
the other
wedding
route.
coming up
Yeah.
in 6 weeks. So
Oh,
we
yeah,
were supposed to
sounds
do
like,
heli skiing in the Canadian Rockies. We're a bit of adrenaline junkies. My wife's like,
yeah,
we have
I've
a
done
wedding
it.
planned, so you better fix that. And I was like, okay. I was like, let's go ahead and do the surgery. So, but the point here is I'm a health nut. And
Mhm.
not to take you off of the cancer subject, but this actually has been already documented and proven by many medical experts on my show that removing things like sugars and grains from your lifestyle are inflammatory triggers to a lot of diseases and cancer. And so obviously I did not eat
Lunch, right?
one thing out from the hospital except scrambled eggs. I was making my wife bring my own nutrition in every single day because I know too much and I've taken accountability for that. So besides advocacy, I like to call it self accountability, but it's like, guys, unfortunately, I'm not picking on healthcare and medical care. I'm just saying, unfortunately, the dietary programs that they're told to follow that they don't know any better from are actually hurting people. So that's a whole different podcast. We're going to get back on track here, but it's
Right.
back to that advocacy, that self-awareness is don't be afraid to own your shit. I
Right.
guess, right? So,
Right.
so
Oh,
please
100%.
continue. I figured you and I should align on that theme there
No,
because
I'm wholeheartedly aligned with you. I
yeah,
understand where you were going with that. You know, do you know that women's health care today has been cut back so severely
mm,
that we don't get any of the same procedures afforded to us even as much as 5 years ago.
Really, even with the expanded exposure and all the athletic
It
events and
made it
fundraising
worse.
events for, like, again, you had metastatic,
Metastatic
thank you,
cancer.
metastatic. It's always a fun word. Metastatic
Yeah,
cancer.
that's okay.
Stage 4. Okay.
Yeah,
Like
still
I
got
had
it.
my recent, one of my second or third largest client, Vinny Twitterich. He's the guy who owns the trademark NSNG, no sugar, no grains. He's pretty viral online. Been in the health and fitness world for decades. He's the one that really influenced me launching the podcast and everything else. I've been on Histories by my show anyway, but he's brought on so many cancer doctors, and he himself beat stage 4 leukemia. And he was an ultra athlete. He was
Rough
the
guy.
secret trainer to the stars out in LA. He was the epitome of health and fitness, and he still got it. But he himself is aligned with what you're saying. Unfortunately, men versus women, or whatever we're having to call that nowadays, different podcasts, but it's like, it doesn't matter, right? Biologically, men, women are not getting the same, as you said, procedures and support systems, which blows my mind because breast cancer awareness has exploded over decades. And yet to this day in 2022, it's still not the same level of support infrastructure.
And more people are dying today than they were 10 years ago of breast cancer.
Yeah.
We've slid backwards.
Which shows that
our government doesn't care about women in health.
Our care has not improved. I agree with that. It has
it's gotten worse.
Yes. I align with that 100%.
Not necessary. It's not only improved, it's gotten worse. I can tell you that as much as probably 5 years ago, I think mammograms were paid for between the age of 35 and 40. Now they're only paid for at 55. You were getting pap smears every year. Now you can only get them every 2 years.
Well, there's no profit in it.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And these are everyday preventative medicine procedures that will save insurance companies millions of dollars.
My client's office manager last week, it was on a Friday, and I was like, oh, what do you got planned before the weekend? She's like, well, I'm taking a half day. I got to get my breast squeezed. I was like, what? I was like, and I already knew what she was talking about, but I was like, oh, you're going for a mammogram. And she's like, oh, how'd you get that so fast? I'm like, I follow this world. I was like, I kind of had a hint, and I know she's getting older, and I was like, oh, okay, but she's younger than me. But I said, oh, okay. She's like, yeah, I mean, she's like, got to pay for it nowadays. And I was like, what? Because I didn't know. So it's funny you're saying this. I was like, oh, what?
Her. I love her.
Because my wife is 5 years younger than me. I'll be 45 next month. She just turned 40 in May.
Baby.
My wife is a successful equine horse veterinary doctor. She's a doctor of chiropractic care for animals. Her entire practice is women. Their health insurance doubled last year. And I was like, but you guys are all healthy people. What did you do to trigger that? Nothing. Oh, and again, my wife confirmed it. She's got to pay for her mammograms. I was like, that's not included? It's like, huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's crazy, right? But at least these women are paying for them. And for $100, you can pay for an ovarian screening too. The problem is nobody tells you this. This information is not out there, especially the ovarian screening for $100. You realize how many women are dying of ovarian cancer.
Oh, ovarian cancer, I do know that. I don't know the numbers.
Very progressive. It's very quick.
It's aggressive.
If you catch it early, you can 100%.
So is that a common, that's the common, deductible you want to call it? Like, because obviously the test is more than $100 in the medical world. They got to make money somehow or somehow. There's probably a higher rate.
They charge $100. Yeah. The deductible.
I'll pay $100 out of pocket to know what my internal organ is doing or what is being done to it. So
like the doctors, the OBs, the gynecologists, the internists, they're not telling women. So women are going in. Okay. And because I have I don't want to get too off track, but I have another organization because ultimately my passion is women in healthcare. Sure. I've written a book. I've done all the things that I've done. I've educated the community, all so that my end result is to help women in healthcare. So I have this organization called Lunge for Healthcare. Get the play on words.
I
Lunge
like
for
that.
Healthcare. Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Thought so you might like that.
As a marketing guy, I do appreciate a good little sling on words there. Well done. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anyway, so the sole purpose of Lunge for Healthcare is I'm starting off very small. I'm suggesting 2 things, okay? And with these 2 things comes growth. 1, we advocate women to tap into their instincts when it comes to their own personal health care. Listen to our bodies, ladies. Listen to our bodies. And number 2, we ask doctors, listen first, diagnose second. 5 minutes, walk in the room and listen to what we have to say, what our real health issues are, and then we go into the diagnosis. So just 2 things. And with those 2 simple things, my feeling is we can take all that preventative money that we've saved, dollars and dollars and dollars, because there's less pill popping, let's face it, less cutting, less medical procedures. All this preventative medicine is saving so much dollars in insurance money. So we go to the insurance companies and we say, hey guys, we're not asking for anything. We're just taking back what we already gave you because we just saved you preventative millions of dollars. So can we just have back what you took? That's all I'm asking first. You grow from there. You grow from there. So then you appeal to Congress. Okay, so you go to your insurance companies and you go to Congress. You go to Congress for the laws. You go to your insurance companies to make real immediate change. And you do that all with changing 2 small things. Listen first, diagnose second, tap into your own personal health care.
I fully align with this because for years now, I've had great health influencers on this show. And I myself have taken that stand where it's become like a rubber stamp style checklist system. Like, oh, you have this symptom, so I give you this drug and you go on your merry way, or this procedure, or the slice and dice. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yes.
And I love how, what's the term? Traditional healthcare.
Yeah.
I love traditional healthcare, right? So
yeah.
So I was like, okay,
and
so
that's
me, I'm a health nut.
loaded word.
I don't go to the MD unless I need blood work done, or I proactively want blood work done. Now I get some light blood work every 8 weeks because I donate blood. My wife and I are big blood donors. It's great to have a quick, free little checkup, by the way. You get a very light, analysis on your blood. Anyway, but that aside, I'm like, okay, I'm a nutball, right? Every single month, I get a regular massage and I go see a chiropractor. Whether you believe in chiropractic care or not, that is the extent of my, quote, healthcare. I don't go to an MD unless I collapse a lung, slice open
and then you don't even go.
Well, then, sooner or later, I admit to that. I'm a jackass, but it's like, it's like, that's like, you shouldn't be going to the MD in my experience. And again, I'm not a doctor, right? So you hear this as you see fit, people, but it's like, I don't need it. So why go? Because they're just going to give me a drug, right? So
but not all are the same. You know what?
I agree with that.
Let's not put all medical physicians, all medical personnel, let's not put them all in one box, because they are absolutely not all the same. There are different crayons, colors in every box, as there are in the medical community. So I want to make that clear, that I'm not saying that all medical personnel are like that. It is not like that, actually. In fact, I have an internist that gives me his home phone number, and I have a question, I just text him. Well, and then I don't have to go in, like you said.
It's like Vinny, like I talked about. Like Vinny Twitters has brought on way more health influencers than I have. He's been podcasting for 9 years now. But a lot of the people, because he's Mr. NSNG, no sugar, no grains, right? So he brings on experts from the heart disease world, the cancer world, the diabetic world. My own dad became type 2 diabetic, and hello, we grew up on a farm, people. Like I was like, we were healthy. Like I lived the way I grew up. No one else in my family does that. And they're all obese. They all got issues. And I'm like, we all looked like me when I was a kid. Hello, I'm just doing what daddy taught me when I was a kid, and dad no longer does what he taught me. Whole other podcast. But the point is, your point, Vinny helped me learn about these doctors and then I bring them on my show too, because I'm like, I want more people to know that there are doctors who have realized, wait a minute, we're following some broken protocols, we're some broken
Mhm.
systems. You know, the good old, for example, quote, standard American diet was false, right? All these things. So find the professionals, get the second, third, or fourth opinion till you find the professional, to your point, who is the different color crayon in the box that does
Right.
care to do their own analysis, their own research, right? Dig deeper into the symptom or whatever angle we're going with here. I love that point because it is true. They do exist.
Yes, they do. They do. And I've met lots of them, and I've met a lot. I mean, I left in the middle of the night after my mammogram in a hospital gown, flying open as my mother and my husband wheeled me down the hall running for our lives.
Because you're like, okay, I can't trust this institution or this doctor, at least I got to go.
Exactly. And we
Yeah.
went to a hotel and we healed me
Okay.
until I was able to drive the 2 hours home.
Okay.
You'll get a lot of bad ones, but you get a lot of good ones too. And the idea is to recognize what it is that you need, what's best for you, and pull from them what you most want to pull from them. So lead the conversation. That's why I say listen first, diagnose second.
Yeah.
So simple.
Well, I love with this because, and I'm going to be perfectly transparent and honest. I try and always read the books of my authors that come on the show. I have your book. I just haven't been able to consume it yet because before we hit record today, I just said, like, I've been traveling the past 3, 4 days. I
Right.
launched my own book last year. I had book tours for that. I was like,
Mhm.
I'll admit it. It's not an excuse. It's just, hey, I myself can't wait to dig through the rest of the book. I did some light skims, the typical thing. But it's on my now consumption list. That's why I was like, you know what? Go ahead and bring her on. The team that got you connected, I love what they do. And I'm like, guys, get her on here because anything relating to cancer or these supposed, life ending diseases, I love to talk to people like you because, okay, is it life ending? Is it that final checkbox?
Well, I'm the
You're
only one.
proving that it's not.
But they tell me I'm the only one
Mm.
with my
Obviously, and per the book,
particular
I am the
form
one.
of well, that's why it's named with my aggressive form of cancer, which I think, and bear in mind, this is 12 years into it. How nuts is it that there are not tons of women shoulder to shoulder standing beside me? I mean, how is it that I'm the only one? And let me tell you, I had to fight City Hall to get the types of treatments that I thought that I needed in order to get the next step further in my healthcare,
What
and
does
then the
City Hall
next
have to do
step
with it?
further. It's just I use that as a saying, but
Oh,
like
okay. I was just saying.
like,
I mean,
but
it
not,
wouldn't surprise me.
but government, the medical community, they, the insurance company denied me 5 times.
Oh, to get advanced testing and advanced procedures,
No,
or
just to get my radiation treatment,
what?
because they called it experimental. But meanwhile, it had been around for years and years. It's just that they didn't use it in the way that I wanted it to be used for me. And till today, it hasn't been used
Well, you and
that
I are
way.
aligning on that statement because, again,
That's
I'm
nuts.
my Vinny and other people I'm connected with. We're always talking about, for example, I live a very people can live their whatever you do. I tell people to do that, right? But I'm a very big carnivore keto lifestyle. All right, I'm
Yeah,
strong and I'm lean and I'm healthy and I have no issues. And
right.
but like the term keto became a branded thing. But if you went far enough back in history, the ketogenic lifestyle, they call it now, was a form of therapy to help heal and cure brain health issues that triggered massive grand mal seizures in children and everything else. It's in the textbooks. It was proven to
Right.
work.
I'm familiar
Remember
with
the
that.
old 80s comedy movie Airplane?
Well, yeah.
Right? Yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
current generation might hear this and they're like, what? So
Yeah.
go watch it. It's funny.
Well, everyone should go watch it. There's
Right. It's a
like
classic.
Airplane 1, Airplane 2,
So
Airplane 3.
that director, his son,
Mhm.
suffered from 20, 30, 40 grand mal seizures a day since
Oh,
birth. Like it was crazy. And they were ready to cut into his baby's head, his toddler's head.
ugh,
And then
ugh.
he went to the library at the medical practice. It's in the whole backstory. He started Charlie Foundation. And
Mhm.
he's like, wait a minute, what's this keto thing? The ketogenic thing. Like, oh yeah, it's a nutritional lifestyle thing. It could possibly help, fix this, maybe not 100% cure it, but like severely reduce it. He's like, well, that's what we're trying to do. So why don't we do that? They're like, well, because At this point, we think
Because we
surgery is
don't
the
want to do
answer.
that.
And he's like, whoa, before you give my baby, my toddler, brain surgery,
Yeah,
could we at least consider trying something that was supposedly proven decades ago? And
right,
that was considered, ooh, I don't know.
right.
He's like, hold on. You'd rather go with a surgical procedure and pump them full of drugs than consider a nutritional change that might possibly work. It's not
Right.
worth at least trying that. It's stuff like this that blows my mind. I love
Yeah.
podcasting about because I was like,
Yeah.
huh,
Um, yeah.
back to advocacy, right? So his
Well,
father was smart
he
enough to
spoke
take a
for
stand.
his child. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's stories like this all the time.
But you
You
had to
know,
fight to
what
get your own chemo or
I
what
didn't, yeah,
experimental
I had to fight
radiation.
for everything. You have to understand, I still get chemo.
Was it
I've been
because you were
getting
stage
it for
4
12 years. Yes.
and they didn't want to waste it on you or
Yes.
pardon that term. I mean, but
Yes.
yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
They're like, oh,
That's
we already
why I
confirmed that you should
said,
go home and get your affairs in order. So you don't deserve,
yes,
you don't get this.
right, because let's look at it this way. If it's like what we're back to the beginning of what we discussed. Let's say they're a business and they've got $10,000 to spend. Okay,
Mhm.
obviously that's, severely small amount,
Oh
but
yeah.
you understand what I'm saying. So you say they've got this 10,000 to spend, and there's 10 people standing in front of him, all sick with various stages.
Mhm.
So the money's not going to it's not going to help 10 people. It's
Right.
going to help 5. So which 5 are they going to let die?
Stage
And
1 through
that's what it
2
comes down.
versus stages 3 through 4, right? I mean, I'm
Exactly.
not even a doctor,
Exactly.
but I'm like,
But
yeah,
the thing is, um statistically speaking, if you have breast cancer at stage 1 or stage 2, the statistics are very high of it coming back, unless you do the keto diet and some of the other things,
yeah.
to look at your long-term life. So it's going to come back. It's a very high probability. And
Which I
I'm not
love you brought
saying
that point up
it,
because people
but
forget that the drug is not 100% guaranteed solution. We still have the
no,
responsibility to do these other healthy lifestyle fixes to
right.
maintain the long-term goal of livelihood, like health.
Right. And then you get somebody like me that, I'm restricted with this, I'm restricted with that, I'm restricted with this. You know, I can deal with the restrictions. You take whatever corner you can grab. You
Sure.
know, maybe I can't do the 100% keto,
Right.
diet like the next person could do, but maybe I can do it 75. You know
Well,
what I mean?
maybe you could stop eating.
Always
I mean,
try and do.
what's her name? Nina Teicholz is a health medical journalist, deep dive researcher. She's published, she's very well published, but she wrote the best-selling book, Big Fat Surprise, the truth about the fats industry and everything else.
Right,
But
right, right,
some,
right.
it's
Yeah.
okay. Maybe you can't cut all the sugars out, right? Like you said, the whole keto thing. But then the other big thing that we don't talk about is things like seed oils, right? These inflammatory things. Now, granted, we're just talking about what we put in our mouths,
And
but
breast
it's a
cancer
big
is
healthy
very
lifestyle choice.
inflammatory. You are
Right.
100%, you hit a nail there.
Yeah.
Because for this particular type of cancer, lymphedema and swelling is an issue that plagues women. And with that, not to take this too far in the other direction, but it's an issue that I'm feeling very sensitive personally right now, is
Okay.
all the body dysmorphia
Mhm.
issues that, most cancers, you go through the treatment and you're skeletal. I mean, you just look,
Oh, sure.
you know,
Sure.
but breast cancer is different. It's a hidden factor that a lot of women are plagued with weight gain. They're plagued with 75% divorce rate.
It
They're
miswires your hormones is what I've researched.
Yes, your
I'm trying
research
to
is,
be.
is very, very progressive, very progressive. I'm
I'm
really
not my
impressed.
wife, but I'm a geek about this stuff.
I love
So
your geekum.
is that a word? I like
I
that, geekum.
well, I like making them up,
I
so
like it. I like
so
it.
there, I'm making up a word. But, I
But this is
think
what we
it's
all need to
important to
be
have that
up on this.
positive feeling that you have.
Yeah.
You're, um,
When
you're
I met
just
my
so
wife, she doesn't do half the stuff I do. Like
yeah, because we're women.
she's because she's very medically wired. So
Yes.
I finally, it took a few years of dating and blowing my head out of my butt to realize like, okay, accept where she's at in medical genius world. I'll
Well,
just let her observe my healthy lifestyle choices, and then maybe she'll just slowly, absorb and take in what I'm doing in the kitchen and in other
right.
areas of my life, which she has. She still hasn't 100% done what I do, but it's like, you're
And
not
you
going to
love her
tell a
for
very
that.
smart person what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, if you tell anybody what to do
Mhm.
instead of share or ask, you're
Yes.
going to get nowhere.
Well, that comes back to your
So,
advocacy for
yeah,
yourself,
do
but
what
then,
you can do, and so on and so
but
forth.
what you're doing when you're
And you
speaking.
make your life matter.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If it's you just make it organic. You
Mhm.
make and I'm not talking about food. I'm just talking about your life choices can become organic and you make it matter. Because you know what I say a lot of times in my speeches, and I have a speech coming up, and this is one of the things that I'm going to address because we're all so wrapped into saving for our retirement
Mm,
that we forget to look up, what about today?
I
You
love
know,
it.
enjoy today. I'm not saying
You're
people
Vicky,
don't
you're
save for
aligning with me.
retirement. Don't please
You're
save for retirement,
you're
but
so fired up
enjoy.
into my brand right now. It's not even funny.
Well,
Like,
I so get you. It's
yeah,
because
because it's
you know,
like, dude, I when I met my wife, just exactly what you're saying. I was like, hey, her father is a retired successful CFO and like
yeah,
full blown accountant. So he's financially wired and very conservative with his savings. And I mean,
right,
granted, they're living very well in the retirement. But like a
yeah.
few years ago, we both went to South Africa together. Her family didn't even, her parents had never been to South Africa. They went the year later. So they're now catching up to
So you,
us and we're
yeah,
way
because their
younger.
priorities are
Because I
different.
told her that I was like, baby, you work so hard. You have so much invested and saved and yada, yada, yada. Her financial world's way better than mine. I have no problem telling people that.
But that doesn't matter. You're a
I
team.
was like, I
So
would
what's
rather
it?
live today
Yeah,
than
yeah.
be, what was the slogan I used to say years ago? Oh, I would rather live today than have millions of dollars in investments and yada, 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 and be stuck on a hospital bed because I'm old, decrepit, and unhealthy, and I can't live my life with this supposed investment in my future. Let's invest in the future. I believe in that,
Yeah,
right?
because
Let's
there's a
invest in today.
medium. So you make um you balance your
Yeah.
choices. It's a lifestyle
Yeah.
balance,
Well, that's
and
part of my. It's in
you
my
want to.
book. From one author to another, so you want to be a hotshot. I served out west as a hotshot wildland firefighter. So when you see these wildfires, like we were like the special forces of wildland, like they sent us into the crazy shit. So I decided to leave my corporate life to go do that for a couple of years, and
Yeah, I
people
have
thought I was
questions
crazy.
about
They're like,
that. Oh,
you
you're
just went
helping
back.
people.
What are you
It's
doing?
it's so, isn't it so rewarding?
And it was. Now, granted, I had to completely change my life. I gave away all my possessions. It's all in the book. And that's for charity. And people who listen to the show
And
know
your
that.
younger years, 5 years
Right.
younger today
Well, they
for it.
called me old man. I was already 31. They called me the old guy. And I was like,
Yeah,
I'm
Joe.
only 31. They're like, yeah, why are you doing this? This is like 18 to 24. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm kicking your butt in workouts and we're all serving and risking our lives together. So it doesn't matter at the age now, right? And they're like, oh, that's a good point. Yeah. So,
Yeah, it's
and I was like,
it's
and now I'm back. I'm making
like
more money than I've ever done. I'm in my 40s and I have these stories to look back
you have
on.
the support of your partner.
Yeah.
And so together you can cut back a little of each of you so that you can still accomplish today and then accomplish tomorrow at the
Well, and
same
your slogan, I'll take it out of one of your bullet points here. I love it.
time.
Is she and I can help ignite each other's lives, because one of your little statements here is we need that mindset is needed to ignite your life and beat cancer, right? But why not just ignite your life and live your life?
Right,
And that's why fire
right.
is in
What
all
am
my
I
logos.
fighting?
Yeah.
Why are we fighting? If I, how can I put this? Sometimes I put this into words awkwardly, but everything hurts on my body. Okay, I've been getting chemo for 12 years.
Oh God, you
Let's
have to
face
have
it.
chronic pain
That
from that. Yeah.
that that's eating away at my
Yeah.
body.
You said 12
No
years now?
matter 12 years. So the positive things that I'm doing, I can't. There's only so much I can do. Okay,
Sure.
so that's it. That's just my lot in life. That's how it goes. But if I spend every day in bed complaining about all the pain that I was in, why am I here?
Mhm.
Why did I fight so hard to live?
Good point.
Um, I'm I'm disrespecting myself.
What are you going to do with that time?
Yes,
Which is where your book and your speaking comes in.
I'm disrespecting my fight. I'm disrespecting my value system. I'm disrespecting everything by not enjoying today, this minute, this second, here and now.
Let's pause on that. Why do you think, I love hearing people's perspectives on this question, because you've already kind of answered it, but it's like, okay, why do you feel people, so many of us, I mean, let me narrow that. So many of us in this country full of freedoms that we have, because if you go to other countries, you don't get this issue. My wife just got back from, I forget, some country. She took a trip to in Europe. I'm blanking on it right now. Croatia. And right near where the Bosnian-Serbian war was a few years ago.
Right.
And I'll say what this guy told her, and then you'll know where I'm going with this question. Guy was a former soldier. Most of those people in that world, they had to become soldiers, whether they liked it or not. He told her a little statistic. He goes, well, back during that time, any man in his 20s, if you stepped out your door, you were dead within 12 minutes. That was the lifestyle of the Bosnian-Serbian war. You had like 80% chance of death, right? So you're living in that world, right? He's like, so I don't. He's like, we really don't understand you Americans, right? Because like, you guys are worried about so much crap. And he wasn't trying to degrade us. He was just saying, like, and he's like, this is what we lived with. And he's like, right now, we're just trying to work to, he said, because their economy is a mess. He's like, we're just hopefully to make enough money to cover our expensive rent and then have money for food. We don't have time to worry about TV and blah, blah, blah. So one of my point here is, look, why do you think so many of us in this country, it takes a near-death experience, right, to get to where obviously you're at? Yeah. And maybe that happened for you too. Maybe that's part of the background here. Is like, unfortunately, it took breast cancer. Yeah, I died.
I'm a different Viki.
Yeah.
Why? I'm not. I died.
What do you tell people? Because you do so much motivational speaking. What is that part of your underlying points of contact to your audience, is to help them?
It is. Be aware of that. It is. Because you say, oh, why listen to me? And well, you don't necessarily have to listen to me. But when you do have a near-death experience, it does give you insight. It truly does, that no others have. And when you drop into the abyss and you personally are responsible for lifting yourself out, how can you not share that knowledge with others?
I agree.
How can you not be responsible for the other lives and the knowledge that you now have been given by God? Really? I mean, and I don't say it in a religious tone. I say it in a spiritual tone, because it's a gift, and it's what you do with that gift.
Yeah, you're making my hair stand up on my arm right now, because for me just now, like, I knew where you were going to answer with, but like, that's why I asked people the question, because it ignites something in me. And then I personally just connected back, obviously. Again, I didn't beat cancer. You did. But like this, choosing to do the firefighting, right? That was one of the most, I didn't even know at the time, that was one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet. That specific profession, being a hotshot, didn't know. I didn't care. I was an adrenaline junkie. But then I spent years telling the stories.
Out of helicopter still, so that has
and people are like, and the wife's like, if you love us so much, why don't you write a book? And I'm like, I didn't plan on writing a book, so I wrote a book last year. And I was like, okay. And then I realized why. What is the legacy that we're leaving behind on this planet? That's what ignited that in me, because in 2013, one of my fellow Arizona-based crews was completely burned over. 19 of the 20 men were killed in action. Their base was only an hour and a half from mine. The hair still stands up when I talk about them. The Granite Mountain Hotshots. A movie's been made about that called Only the Brave, with some big actors in it.
I've seen it.
So that, like, my wife's like, hey, when that movie came out, she's like, do you want to go watch that? I'm like, not really. And then I finally agreed. And that was one of the first times she saw me just break down and cry, trying to sit there and watch that in the theater, because it hit me in so many different ways. I'm like, well, shit, that literally could have been me. I could have died. There was multiple near-death experiences in that profession all the time. There's people dying right now. There's two people just died last week. I follow the profession to this day. So it's like, to your point, it's like,
they died.
It shouldn't take that.
Giving others.
Yeah, but it shouldn't take that.
Others. No,
like, there's so many of us don't have to reach near-death experiences
Right.
to get to that point of sharing that you're talking about, although people who do reach near death experiences, to your point, right? Please reach that point of legacy where you should be passing this on. You should be sharing this with others, which you're doing,
But
obviously.
it's like, but it's the unknown. It's that faith word. And
Okay.
again, I'm not using that in a
No, not
religious
religious. Yeah.
tone, but I'm saying that's faith. And not everybody has faith within them. And you need faith to be able to look forward. And if you haven't had that life altering situation, how do you take that faith and put yourself into that scenario so that you can move forward the same way? You just really can't.
I love your word choice. It is true. Like I'm not a political guy. I'm not a religious guy, but throw the religion out the window. You want to call it agnostic, whatever.
Right.
But to your point, faith does not have to be a religious term. Faith in yourself, faith in others, right? Especially
Right.
yourself. I, for years,
And
have
faith
always
in your
talked about
outcome.
that. Absolutely. Like people taking
Yeah.
accountability for their why in life, your why behind your weight loss, the why behind changing your career, the why behind your relationship, whatever it may be, that why, that faith in yourself, that's something that we have to do. No one can do that for us. I've said that for years when I spent years coaching people in the fitness and the business world. Like, guys, like, what are you doing today to take accountability for your actions? And people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, okay, I can't help you until you choose to own your shit. Once you own your shit, then, okay, now we can start putting some fuel on the fire, right? Let's find that faith next to carry you when I'm not around, right? I can only coach you so many times, whether it be sports, business, fitness, doesn't matter. But it's like, great, I'll help you when I can, when I'm with you. But okay, now you've got your why. Now we're going to build your faith up and you can carry yourself forward. And so many people are not doing that. They're like robots.
Well, they're scared.
Okay, there we go. Fear.
You put fear in front of faith, and
Shuts it down.
That's a real angry combination.
And I'll admit it. People tell like, oh, you've done some crazy crap. I skydive and stuff. They're like, so you have no fear. I'm like, incorrect.
Yeah,
Incorrect.
Too.
I was like, from when I was a kid, jumping my BMX bike and ripping my knees all apart. It's like the only difference between me and other people's, I love to use this term, is that we're just at a different place in the timeline. So I'd love to hear what you say on this because, guys, ladies, gentlemen, doesn't matter what you're hearing. This is like, you just haven't experienced enough breakthroughs yet. That's why you have to keep getting over these little hurdles one at a time. The bigger the fear, the easier it gets.
But risk and fear are negotiable.
Okay.
Like, I don't think risk has to be, helipadding out of the airplane.
Sure.
Risk to somebody else could be stepping out the door that day. That could be their true risk. So risk
or rushing out of a hospital to go back to your hotel to heal up with your family. That might have been considered risky to a lot of people.
Exactly. So I think that we want to clarify that a little bit.
Yes, please.
Because not everybody has to be an adrenaline junkie to submit to faith or to risk or to not be scared. Just because you choose not to break every bone in your body doesn't mean you were scared to do that. It could just mean
you're a jackass.
That wasn't, but what it does mean is then choose your poison. Don't go through life without risk. Whatever that risk might be to you, like I said, to somebody, they could be an agoraphobic. It could be literally stepping that foot out the door.
Oh, absolutely.
Risk is it.
I agree where you're going with this. That's why I told people for years when they get the book and they say they love it, I'm like, oh man, I can never do what you did. I'm like, I didn't ask you to do what I did. I barely did what I did. Right?
There you go.
It's like, no. The underlying principles in here is to embrace your fear. What is scaring you to do something better tomorrow? Or to your point, this morning, getting out of bed and going to that new job, or maybe you hate your job and you eventually want to find a way to get out of it. But what you got to do first is start putting in that work, start working through those fears to move on from that job, because so many people hate their jobs, right? So it's like, fine, then work on building the fundamentals you need to get out of there.
Yeah.
You don't have to go quit tomorrow. That's risky. Don't go quit tomorrow. Build the fundamentals needed to build you beyond that job and then help you escape tomorrow. Right. So
but respect yourself enough to
do that.
Choose better.
Yeah. Like I tell people all the time, every fire we went into, every division we were assigned to, there is a basic fundamental. You have to have 2 escape routes set up at 2 safety zones. You don't go into that fire line to start building it. And if building that fire break, unless you have 2 ways of escape and 2 safety zones to stage in case, God forbid, something blows up around you. So we, even as professionals, had 2 ways out.
Stop.
So I tell people, like, I have a chapter on that. I'm like, how can you apply that to your life?
5 steps ahead.
That severely, that your risks go down. That should help you get over some fears. Okay, I got some escape routes. I got a backup plan.
Right.
That should help bring down some of that fear, I would hope.
Yeah.
So
I always call it the 5-step ahead plan.
Okay.
I think 5 steps ahead.
I like that.
That doesn't mean I think about it in it's a thoughtful way of looking at things. It's not a over analyzing.
Would you consider yourself a planner then, or you just like the idea of thinking
only
ahead?
Only yes and no.
Okay.
When you're told to go home and get your affairs in order, that is a lot in life that sticks to you. I mean, that sticks to you like glue.
That's very hurtful statement.
It's really hard to get off. And so what happens is it shapes certain things. So, maybe I'm brave in this way and that way, or you'll see that, but it's not really the case. It's not about bravery. It's just about moving 1 step forward. And however that looks to you, then tie the shoe and then move the other step forward. You know what I'm saying? So it's
well, yeah, planning 5 steps ahead. If I don't tie the shoe, I might trip over my own shoelaces. So maybe in my plan, I should at least tie the shoes before I take that next step.
Because you want to be successful at least. I mean, why not? Even in your organic, like I choose to help organically somebody at least every single day. Okay. But whether I was or was not, who's to say that I'm successful at that? I'm to say whether I'm successful at that. Now, you can say, no, it's those people that you organically help. They're the ones to say whether you were successful at that. And no, did it feed your soul? Did you like yourself today? Did you look in the mirror? Did you, not say something nasty about yourself?
I like that point too. There's also that piece of, besides owning your fears and working through them, there's also that piece of forgiving yourself, right? So everybody's going to have a bad day. You're going to make a wrong decision. I remind people back to fear, right? So it's like, if you're afraid to make a decision because you're afraid to make a mistake, you're actually holding yourself back from future success, because that's where all the growth comes from. If we don't make mistakes, how are we supposed to grow from them? Like I make the joke, we're not human parents, we're doggy parents, right?
Babies don't have fear.
Right. So but my point beyond babies is parents, right? Some of the modern parents today, there's the 2 slogans of helicopter.
Yeah.
And then there's do you know about the lawnmower?
Well, you mean choose like the muncher type of a?
No. So there's the helicopter parent who's always hovering, like keeping an eye on the kids.
Well, that I'm familiar.
And then last year I learned about the lawnmower parent. The lawnmower parent, they're the ones that just mow
mow
everything down in front of that kid.
Mow you over.
Like, that's it. Like my kid is never going to have an obstacle ever. Like some of these like famous actresses and actresses that were caught like paying off college people. It's like that's a lawnmower parent right there. Like, okay, I'm going to pay off a person in charge of college admissions to get my kid into that school. Like that's a lawnmower.
So helping that kid, right?
Actually, it's more like a bulldozer, actually. But
I mean,
right? But it's like you have to allow them. You have to. Life is about struggle. You could speak to this so much. You obviously do. You're a motivational speaker, but it's like you have to be challenged. We have to grow from these things.
Yeah. I mean, because what's the point?
Right.
Otherwise, and you don't grow for others. You grow for you. That's the big difference.
Well, because if you grow for you, then that growth then allows you to help others.
Right. Exactly. You can stand on your own 2 feet so much stronger.
Yeah. I told you I'm looking forward to this podcast for you today. I was like, we're gonna be vibing. I mean,
yeah,
because I get you.
Talk again.
I get you. This is great because
get you too.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, she and I did not meet prior to today at all. Like I haven't even read the whole book yet, for God's sakes. But it's like, and again, if this was 5 years ago, I don't know if you and I'd be vibing.
Please read the book.
Right, I am the one. Yeah. exactly. Again, I am the one.com people. But I think that's something, like, for example, I tell people about putting in the reps, and I'm not referring to gym. I've taken that quote out of the gym world and I apply it to business. I apply it to sales, I apply it to marketing. I taught to podcasting. Like, if I went back and listened to my first 5 episodes almost 400 shows ago, I'm sure they don't sound like this. I mean, heck, if I was back then and I hear it myself now, I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, you're all over the place with this girl. But I'm like, no, if you do get off track,
Yeah.
you bring it back.
Yeah.
And you make sure that all of the messaging throughout the show aligns for the people that are going to hear this, because
I agree.
you and I are focused on us right now, but everybody else is going to benefit from this conversation. And
Are we
that's why you're a
we're focused
co-host.
on our conversation.
Exactly.
However, in our conversation, we've talked about the country.
Mhm.
We've talked about helping people organically. We talked about women and healthcare. So it's not
The
only about
rarity of even guys like
today,
me understanding some of it.
yeah, which is brilliant. Women should understand. You have a very lucky, fortunate wife. So, I mean, these things are important.
And they're benefiting others. But we didn't
Yeah,
ask that to come out of the
it's
show
not only
today.
about us. How
Yeah.
about that?
No. But that's
See?
the beauty of this is why I love podcasting.
Yeah.
I missed a lot of podcasting this past year because I was getting that book done. Like,
Right.
I'm trying to run a company.
Took a long time.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay, you know what?
Took
Let me
me a
take a
year.
slight hiatus from the podcast. I got almost 400 shows already online. Let me just
Mhm.
let it ride for a little bit. I'll slap an extra show here and there once in a while, but we had a lot of content out there. Let's get the book done.
Right.
And I felt guilty at first. And then I was talking to some of my fellow podcast author friends, and you're obviously get on podcasts and you're an author, and I'd be interested to hear your opinion. But I was like, Scott, why do you feel guilty? Like, look how much messages you've already put out there. And now you're working on a big project to get a bigger message out there. Like, and you're not
Yeah.
saying you're going to quit the podcast. I was like, no.
No.
They're like, so you're just taking a
No.
hiatus. It's like, you're a human being, bro. Like, it's okay.
But I think that I didn't set out to write a book either. But as you're talking about it, I think the books are important. You can come back to the podcast, but you can never come back to, I mean, the book,
Once it's ready to come out, you gotta
yeah,
get it out.
you want to stick with it because the story changes if you expand the time too long.
Yes.
When you're writing the book, so then you find that your book becomes a little bit more disjointed, and
And you need a really good editor, which I did.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, too.
How much do we appreciate our editors?
I know. Well,
They're talent.
edited mine all myself the
Oh,
first
look at
time,
you.
and then I hired somebody to edit it because, I was just very passionate about it.
No.
When
This
I
was
started
your
my book, I
message.
had no memory of what I'd done, what I had physically gone through. I had
Wow.
some of the day-to-day stuff, but I had no recollection of some of the metaphysical things that I did, some of the other things that I did. I had no memory of what I did to get from point A to point B
Is this
until I
all a
wrote
big
the book.
fog?
Mhm.
Now, is that because of
I
the
didn't know
treatment or
though it
just
was a
because
fog. No, I think that your mind,
your mental blockers came on?
I think there's just things that I wasn't able to absorb. I couldn't take it. There was too much coming at me.
You're
And
overloaded.
your mind, is a kind place. It gives you time to get there.
Mhm.
And for me, it took 10 years.
But I've heard about this before. People, like, when you reach a point of oversaturation, overload of stimuli, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it,
Mhm.
it's just like the body, right? If the body is physically overwhelmed with something, it's
Yeah.
going to focus on saving itself, right? So, like, even let's say you're trapped out in the outdoors, right? There's certain things that are going to shut down to try and protect the organs, right? Keep the body alive. I think the same thing goes for the brain, right? It's like, whoa, there's all this stuff happening. Let me focus on only a couple of things because she's in survivor mode right now. So a lot of this other stuff, you just didn't even realize you were doing it because you were in
Right.
survivor mode.
Right. But it's cool.
Well,
How
and
it
actually
all
healing
works.
mode, survivor and healing mode. So
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So, everything comes in its time, just to swing this all around with faith.
yes. I actually love that you brought that into today's show because, again, we're at the top of the hour, so I want to respect your time too. But like that faith in ourselves, you have a couple minutes to bring it to a
Sure.
close.
Sure,
Cool.
of course.
So
Of course.
honestly, like, there's a lot of things I want to title the show today, but I think that's something that's going to be definitely in the show's branding and title for us, because faith in ourselves is something that is talked about a lot. Social media, people's email campaigns, whatever you want to look at. But your messaging, your book, I am the one.com people, like that's, yeah, beating cancer is already a powerful message. But if you're just passing on the simplicity of that alone can inspire and motivate so many people, having faith in themselves to get over these little daily hurdles that can turn into weekly successes, monthly successes, annual successes. And it does not have to be cancer. That's a
No,
powerful
no, it
takeaway.
does not have to be cancer.
That's a
Oh,
powerful
it
takeaway.
can be just that small step outside your front door, like we said before.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be cancer. It could be holding a child's hand, crossing the street. I mean, there's just so many little, I just talk about the little things in life
Yeah.
and appreciating the small to the large, and really, and not rating them.
Well,
You don't rate the small and the large and say, one is better than the other.
I like that too. They're all wins, right? Let's look at
All
it that way.
wins.
Yeah. Positive mindset. So, I
Right.
mean, again, earlier in the show, we're talking about advocacy. We're talking about positive mindset, igniting your life. We're talking about faith now. So this is a great sum up. This is where I'm gonna toss you that ball so you could send it home, baseball, whatever, home run here. I do ask my guest co-host to help close out the show, right?
Oh, okay.
So we hit on so many amazing things, and I don't want to diminish any of them. But if people were on mental sensory overload, right, from all the great things we shared today, how would you like to sum it up? What would be a final legacy message or something behind everything you're doing and everything you did on today's show? What would you like to kind of close it out with? What's an important way for you?
I can say a couple things, but I have this really crazy motto that I made up.
I like mottos.
When I first got sick, and I said it, and it was born out of truth. It was born out of my own honesty. Okay. And what I said was, I really am the luckiest girl around, but I just happen to have cancer. That's it. Why does one have to take from the other?
I like that.
I'm just me and all the parts of me. And I'm very lucky to be who I am.
But it tells me you're not letting cancer solely define you. Right?
No,
it just so happens to be along for the
but
ride.
Cancer's been my gift.
Sure.
Cancer's given me a voice. Cancer.
Well, darn girl, stage 4, go home, get your affairs in there. It's 12 years later. Granted, you're still getting treatment, but
yeah,
I think you're owning it. I mean,
I'm the last 12 years I've lived differently than the 12 years prior to that. Not that the 12 years prior to that are regrettable. I say I lived them wrong. I would never discount
no regrets.
That.
Yeah.
But these last 12, I got to know a different Viki. I like her.
Well, I love the fact you kind of hinted there should never be regrets. I've said the same thing. Never regret the challenges you've already gone through, right?
Regrets are kind of boring and passe.
Well, plus we've gone through these things in life for a reason, to make us who we are today and moving forward. You can't delete that. Yeah.
Just embrace them. It's just kind of like a mistake. You just embrace it so that you can move forward, because those are the things that hold you back, and that can be poisonous.
Well said, Viki. Listen, hang tight. I want to give you a proper goodbye off the air.
Okay, good.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to throw in one more last screen share for the video feed when this goes up on the YouTube, Facebook world. But obviously, again, IamTheOne.com. And obviously, get the book, okay? I already got it. I just got to finish reading it, okay? So I Am The One. And by the way, she tossed this in there. I'm going to make sure the link is in the show notes because I love nonprofit initiatives, right? So Lunge for Healthcare. So lunge, like lunging, because I love workouts, lungeforhealthcare.org. Check that out too, okay? I love the messaging. I love what she stands for. She's left behind some great final words for you all. So again, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to fuel your health, your business, and your lifestyle. I think Viki knocked it out of the ballpark today. She's definitely a health advocate. She's definitely a lifestyle advocate. And all of these things also can help you in your business choices as well. So thanks for tuning in. And remember, you too can live the fuel. And we'll talk to you guys again soon.